Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a Bitcoin update. Bitcoin is at a crossroads right now. It's at a crossroads within a larger structure. The larger structure here on the 12-hourly chart, as you can see, is an ascending wedge formation in yellow. We managed actually to hold on to the red support line here at 69k. Now, 69k support line is not just a random level, okay? The 69k support line very clearly stems from the weekly chart all-time high in 2021. Moving right across, you can see it was hit as resistance on the weekly candle close back here. We finally flipped it. We got above it. It held as support. So 69k is actually a very important weekly chart level. It's also the all-time high from 2021. So 69k is no joke for Bitcoin. And the fact that we managed to hold on to that level on the 12-hourly chart on the candle closes is quite a good sign. But it's not really enough to get Bitcoin out of the woods by any means, because as I said, we're still within a larger formation, literally in the middle of that larger formation, just lurking, waiting for something to happen. That is literally what Bitcoin's doing right now. It's waiting for something to happen. Although we have a short-term upwards trend in which we have a situation where we're seeing higher highs and lower lows, that short-term upwards trend is encompassed within a bigger pattern of exhaustion. So a lot of conflicting signs here for Bitcoin. If I was to look at it from a pure TA perspective, I'll still stand by what I said yesterday. I think from a pure TA perspective right now, just base level 101 analysis is that when you reject from the top of the wedge, you generally go back down and test the bottom of the wedge. That is especially the case when you see the 12-hourly chart triangle right here validating certain touch points of the wedge. What do I mean by that? I mean that at the same time we touch the bottom of the wedge over here, we touch the bottom of the triangle. Same thing over here. We touch the bottom of the wedge there, we touch the bottom of the triangle. We reject it from the top of the wedge, we reject it from the top of the triangle. With all of this said, it seems likely that Bitcoin still needs to go downwards, touch the bottom of that wedge, and then we make a decision from there. Does it go down further from there? I don't know. Does it go upwards from there? I'm not sure. But what I can say is that right now looks like the likely scenario. I would say that seeing as I lean macro bearish, seeing as I am macro bearish, macro bullish, very important clarification. I lean macro bullish. I think we're in a bull market. That would be a very bad mishap if I didn't pick up on that. But seeing as I lean macro bullish, I would be inclined to say that bearish structures like ascending wedges are mostly just traps, fake outs, and I would be inclined to say that it will break to the upside. But obviously there's a little bit of bias there. I'm just looking historically at what we've done over the last year. And I see that every single structure we've formed over the last year has pretty much broken to the upside without exception. I mean, the only real exception was over here in January 2024, and that was predicted on this YouTube channel. There's been no proper actual structured breakdowns below macro support levels at all. Even over here throughout, from March all the way through to October, every single breakdown just took us back down in the macro support zone. We didn't actually lose any macro support. So Bitcoin's been in a vicious upwards trend. And generally speaking, when you're in an upwards trend, the trend is your friend until it ends. And I don't think a simple ascending wedge formation, which right now I'm on the fence about, to be honest, is enough for me to be like, oh no, everything's going to break down and collapse. I don't think that's logical. I think overall I'm macro bullish, and hence I think this wedge is likely to maintain. But yeah, right now I do still see the clear reality here, and I think every single analyst I've seen on YouTube, really, I mean most of the actual ones, do agree with me that right now, based on TA, the logical thing for Bitcoin to do is to come down, test the bottom of that wedge, do the same thing on the 12-hourly chart triangle, and then we go from there in predictive measures. But right now, as I said, we're at a crossroads. I don't really have a strong opinion on Bitcoin medium term or short term. I really don't. I don't think it's justified. I think we're 7 days away from the halving. The halving has historically been a non-event. We don't know if it's going to be a non-event this time. Maybe this time it's different. For example, even if we look at a Bitcoin monthly chart or something like that, let's go ahead and check it out. Historically, it's taken 1,100 days for Bitcoin to break all-time highs, in the next cycle. This time it's only taken 850 days. That's a difference there. It's a major difference between this cycle and the last cycles. We don't know what's going to happen necessarily at the halving in 7 days from now. And that's very close. So how are we meant to have a structured opinion on something like, oh, is this wedge going to break down or up, when this wedge very well could remain for the next 7 days? It's just not logical, right? We look at the triangle on the 12-hourly chart RSI. That triangle comes to an apex on the 30th of April. Again, the halving's on the 18th. We very well could remain within this triangle until that point. And then the halving occurs, and then we see a move upside or downside, or we see nothing. We just don't know. So I think Bitcoin right now is at a crossroads. I don't necessarily have too many strong opinions on it right now. All I can say currently is that the short-term DA does suggest that we go down and test the bottom of this wedge. That's what the short-term TA suggests, okay? What I can say as well is that Ethereum and the total cryptocurrency market cap are mimicking Bitcoin. They both have ascending wedge formations. So this could be a sign supporting the bearish argument. I will say the ascending wedge formations aren't clean. They're utilizing candle closes rather than wicks, but they are certainly there in my opinion. So we've got Bitcoin, we've got Ethereum, and we've got the total cryptocurrency market cap having ascending wedge formations. Not exactly the most reassuring thing ever, but look, I'll go back to macro, because when in doubt, we go back to macro, right? And even looking at macro, guess what? If Bitcoin breaks down, if these formations we see in all three of these charts actually do play out, and they do lead to further breakdowns for Bitcoin, what's the worst that can happen? Bitcoin is in a perfect macro position. It's in an excellent macro position. You know, what do we see? We see a breakdown to what, 58.5K? You know, something like that. Maybe a little bit lower, maybe even 53K. You know, as long as we don't go much below that, we're fine. That's a long way away. We don't need to worry too much about that scenario. That's something in which we've got, the point is we've got a lot of breathing room. Like you look at the weekly chart on Bitcoin right now, and you look at where the nearest macro support levels are. Well, of course, we've got one at 58K, 53K, but the major macro support level right here is actually 49K. That's the line that divided the bull market from the bear market. That's the line that we rejected from at the start of the bear market, came back down, rejected from at the start of the bull market, came back down, and then finally broke it above. That's the neckline here. So as long as we're above that zone, the macro on Bitcoin is in relatively stable positioning. Obviously, we don't want to be waiting until Bitcoin drops all the way back down there, because that means your altcoin is going to be down like 70%. But the point is, right, we've got a lot of breathing room. We've got a lot of space here, and Bitcoin realistically had one of the most bullish start of the years that you will ever see. Even within a macro bull market. I mean, the Q1 of Bitcoin this year is just absolutely sensational. You know, we rose upwards in like a 2-month period, 93%. But you don't need to hear this from me. I've spoken about this many, many times in the past. I'm obviously very confident about the macro. I think the macro is in a good position. There are things we could do to damage that macro position, but it's not happened yet. And we'll cross that bridge when we get there, if we get there. The point is, Bitcoin right now is at a crossroads. I don't think it's really justified to have a strong opinion on it, given you know what's coming up in the next 7 or 8 days, which is the halving. We do have 3 separate charts, which are all very well connected charts showing ascending wedge formations. That's not exactly reassuring. But even if they do break down, even if they do turn out to be valid bearish structures, it's really not the end of the world, because that would actually be healthy. And that's actually historically at the halving, that's actually what's happened usually, right? We usually go sideways or go downwards for a little bit, right? So really nothing to fret about, really nothing to be worried about here on Bitcoin, in my opinion. One of the metrics I'll be using to monitor short-term breakouts and shifts in momentum on Bitcoin right now is the daily chart RSI. There is a horizontal channel on the daily chart RSI here. If we edge above that channel, I would expect this wedge to break bullish. If we edge below that channel, I would expect this wedge to break bearish. And so obviously right now, although I'm taking a relatively neutral position on the end result of this wedge, before this wedge breaks out, I will be able to determine which way it will break. I'm only taking a neutral position because we're in a neutral range, right? We're in between the resistance and support zone. We're not, you know, we're not edging towards the support and seeing bearish divergence or anything like that. No, there's no real strong indicators here. When we do see those strong indicators like RSI breakouts on the daily chart and even on the 12-hourly chart RSI, then we can take a stronger position on Bitcoin, a stronger stance on Bitcoin like we've been taking for the last few days. And those predictions I've been taking for the last few days have played out pretty well so far. So right now, that's all I can really say. Just neutral, keeping an eye, observing what's going on here. There are potential threats developing. These 3 wedges are not exactly good signs, but they're not, you know, confirmed to be the end of the world at this point yet. We'll have to monitor the situation. I highly recommend you keep up to date with the Bitcoin videos. I understand when I have a neutral opinion, people get frustrated, but guys, at the end of the day, you can't always have a strong opinion. That's just not how the market works. So thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Go ahead and check out the BingX and BitGet exchanges. BingX is global non-KYC. BitGet is global KYC minus the USA. Both are very low in trading fees. Both have never been hacked before, and both have my referral links down below for 15% trading fee discounts for life, as well as exclusive rewards. So go ahead and check out my links down below. Get on a good exchange. You'll need it in the bull market. We also have the bull market sale for the Crypto Academy's Become a Trader course. Again, you'll need this in the bull market as well. You will need trading education, and you can get it from this course if you want to. All the information is on the website down below. And finally, if you want altcoin trading signals, you can get them from my VIP group on Telegram. We trade altcoins 4 to 5 times a week on VIP. You can get in that group. I post signals 4 to 5 times a week. They've got a 77% win rate. Very good stuff there. Check it out. Guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you tomorrow.